Good morning, Doug Levi here, Strategic Insurance Services. Another great day in Tampa Bay, and really excited to share with you today for our training. I'm going to try and end the year here with some just kind of big picture training and themes, what I would really call timeless classics, things that if someone were to watch this, hopefully 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 50 years from now, these ideas, concepts, and content would still be relevant, right? It's just that timeless nature. So we're not going to dig into as much insurance specifics, but really something to hopefully just encourage you, motivate you, and get you focused as we end the year here and start going into the new year. So I'm going to share with you today a summary of See You at the Top by Zig Ziglar. So Zig Ziglar, some of you may know, I've heard the name before. He very famous motivational speaker, professional development, author, had a career that lasted well over 40 years from a little town in Yazoo City, Mississippi, impacted millions of people, impacted me. I first came across him in my early 20s and just loved kind of the way he put thoughts and ideas together. I would almost say a lot of his stuff is like proverbs. Again, they're just these ideas or simple statements that reveal a really deep truth. So we're going to kind of jump right in, and hopefully this is something you guys all get a lot out of. So this is Zig's book, See You at the Top, kind of the summary. So he talks about in the book, See You at the Top, that there's steps to success, that there's a stairway to success. And that's really why I wanted to do this. So, everyone that's listening to this or thinking about this is somewhere along their journey. You're also likely alongside our team working on your business within our business, doing your side hustle or doing this full time and engaged in sales. And so, let's be honest, sales is not easy. What we do is not easy. It's a great opportunity. We have tons of people we can help. You've got a lot of training, motivation, support, structure, blah, blah, blah. But it's challenging. And most things in life that are worthwhile are. And so I really just liked how he breaks down the steps to success. What does it look like to, quote unquote, see you from the top, to get to the top? And, he doesn't quite say it in kind of the book, but one of the things that I want us to just think about, and I took a lot from his book and then just other places that I've kind of gotten from over the years, but we never fully arrive at the journey at the top, right? And I think the most successful people out there will tell you that. And once you kind of get going, a lot of people that really get into professional development and growth, they will tell you that it is that journey. And frankly, it's the journey as much as the end result that makes you into the person that you are, right? So just kind of think about that. It's not just a place to be. It's going to be a continual journey, but this is certainly the building blocks of what's going to help you become successful. So he starts with this steps here, right? So he's got self-image, relationship with others, goals, attitude, work, desire. So these are what he's defining, that Zig Ziglar is defining and saying, hey, these are the 6 steps that you need to focus on and think about to get to the top, right? Now, the top may look different for you and me as well. So I also, and we'll talk about that a little bit more as we kind of unpack the goals part, but it may look a little bit different. So the other thing he highlights, and I like this, is there's no elevator here, right? And again, there's just so many statements we can make on this of, you don't really see any overnight successes, right? There's not this shortcut to success. And whatever degree of success we've achieved here at the agency, I feel very blessed that we won awards locally, we won awards nationally, we've been recognized in newspapers and other publications and different things over the years. And that's all well and good. And again, I'm grateful for that. It's not an overnight thing, right? So that's also something I think that's important for people to know and just understand. I think most people do. It's kind of the classic, there's no get rich quick type scheme or shortcut to success. And I just added this quote too that I really liked from Jim Rohn, who was actually a contemporary of Zig Ziglar's, and again, a guy I listen to a lot still to this day and really enjoy. Some of you guys know that. So Jim puts it and he says, the cost of discipline weighs ounces, the cost of regret weighs tons. Okay, so think about that. The cost of regret weighs tons, the cost of discipline weighs ounces. When we put those two things on the scale, the price we pay to have the disciplines that we have and do the things that we do is going to be so much lighter and easier than that, oh my goodness, I regret, or I missed out, I didn't give it my all in any opportunity that we come across in life, right? And I see here I've got a little typo. I just put this presentation together, so I'll get that edited and updated when I send it out. But when he gets to the top, some of the things that he highlights that Zig believes that you would experience at the top, and I would encourage you guys to think about, well, what does, quote unquote, again, the top look like for you? And I think these are all things that, again, people who are living just a dynamic, exciting life, people that you look up to, think about that. I don't know who that is in your life. I certainly hope at some level I'm one of them. I don't say that arrogantly, but just someone that I want to be an encouragement to you guys, right? That's why I'm doing a lot of these videos and trainings. But when you, quote unquote, get to that last step, you know, he talks about growth, freedom, leisure, security, peace, happiness, wealth, and health. So that's sort of the end product of working your way through those six steps, right? And then we're going to talk a little bit at the end, and he's got sort of here, and I actually am the one that kind of defined it, if you will, that I put that this is the rebar, that these items are the rebar of the steps. And again, we'll talk about that as we kind of get towards the end of the talk here, but those are items like faith, integrity, love, loyalty, honesty, and character. So that's kind of a big picture overview. We're going to kind of go step by step and break that down a little bit now for us. So the first step he talks about is self-image. I thought this was so good, and it's interesting. I mean, I put this together this morning. I was actually listening to it as I was going to make breakfast for my family over the weekend, and just you know, had some time around the house to do some things. I was listening to his audiobook on this. And what I thought was interesting is it's the first step in the process here, and we'll probably go back to this, you know, this picture somewhat frequently, but it's the first step in this process here, and that is the self-image. And so, you know, again, a lot of the stuff that we're going to talk about now is going to kind of touch on, you know, a little bit of psychology, motivation, philosophy, you know, some of these big picture themes or ideas. Again, some of you right now, I know I've been there. You may be shaking your head a little bit, like, really? I mean, what do you know, self-image, and, you know, on and on. And so I would just encourage you to hang in there. And I'd really encourage you to be honest and ask yourself if you think that you can perform in a manner inconsistent with the way you see yourself. Well, that's a quote right from Ziglar, right? From Zig. So Zig says you cannot perform in a manner inconsistent with the way you see yourself. Again, just trying to unpack that a little bit or put it in a different way. You're going to perform in a manner and in a way in how you see yourself, right? So think about that. If I don't see myself in a positive light, in a good light, I'm not going to perform. It's as simple as that. Again, I would encourage you to think about people in sports, entertainment, political, government, all different areas of life. Their self-image of themselves, whether we think it's positive or negative, is so critical to their own success. So while I'm doing this training again, is I just feel it's so important to provide some of this background, hopefully something you can go back and listen to again. Hopefully this is helpful to you, and try and reinforce some of these big themes. So, you know, we're going to spend the next few minutes and we're going to talk about that self-image, right? So he kind of goes from there, and we're going to talk here and saying, you know, what comes out of our mouth is determined by what goes in our mind, right? And this is something I talk about a lot and share with the team, internally, with friends, with family, etc. And I've seen it in my own life, and I'll be honest and transparent. There's been times in my life where I've suffered greatly. I've been through tremendous challenges, tremendous hardships, turmoil, just bouts of fatigue, depression, you name it. And when I look at those moments of my life, as hard and challenging as they were, I really see back and can learn and say, in those moments, where was my thought life, right? How was my thinking in those moments? And now how is my thinking day by day? And if we're not careful, others will choose what we're getting in our minds. And so I'm not going to go on a kind of a whole soapbox, but I want you to think about what you feed your mind, what you feed yourself, what you listen to, what you read, what you see on social media, what you get in the media in general. Because there's no doubt all of those platforms have agendas. And if you're not careful and you're not cautious, I should say, you're going to find yourself bombarded with a lot of things that you don't even want. But we live in a day and age in society where it's just so easy to digest information, right? A lot of it good, a lot of it not good. And if we're not careful, we can find ourselves in an area that's putting a lot in our mind, in our spirit, and in our body that's not positive and encouraging. And again, it's kind of, you know, the gas of a car, right? What I put in is what's going to come out. If I put really bad gas in my car, or I put the wrong type of fuel in my car's not going to go. Certainly not the way I want, right? So I'm going to kind of go through these, try and go through these quickly, but I can't emphasize enough. He really spent a lot of time in the book and in the audiobook on self-image, and he breaks down self-image, and I even cut it down a little bit, but kind of 10 tips to grow your self-image, right? So think about that for a second here. So, you know, step one, he says, take inventory. What are things that you do well? What makes you unique? And again, some of this may be hard for people. Some of this may be, oh man, you may not have the best self-image right now. I don't know. And I'm not trying to be here and be Dr. Phil and some, you know, guru or counselor for you, but I know this stuff is so true. And I firmly believe, and I can't get past his statement that you're not going to perform in a manner that's inconsistent with how you see yourself, right? So how I see myself is going to affect my performance. It's so big, right? So take inventory, look at things that you do well, that you're unique, and then dress for success. I think this is big. I think this is becoming more of a lost art, if you will. And I'm not saying I'm Calvin Klein and the world's best dresser. And I actually, some of you can see, I'll do a little quick zoom in, hopefully maybe get a laugh. I've got a cut on my nose today, courtesy of my daughter. Family life, crazy. I'll be real quick here, but this is kind of funny. We get a lizard in our house Saturday morning, you know, a good sized lizard about this big. And my wife, you know, is literally like screaming from the other room. I'm in the bedroom. She's calling from the living room, or the playroom rather, and saying, there's a lizard in here, I need your help, etc. And so I come running, come out. I get the lizard. I actually cut its tail off, you know, tried to capture a little Tupperware thing. I get its tail cut off, and then I finally capture it. Anyway, I was having some fun with my kids. I have it in a little Tupperware thing. My daughter was all excited and tries smacking it. She smacks the Tupperware thing and cuts my nose right there. So that's just funny, right? That's just real life. I joke. That's pound real life, people. But here's where I'm going with it. All right, I got a cut on my nose today. I can't help that right now. And I had a Band-Aid this morning because I was still bleeding. But I can dress well. I can stand upright. I can smile. You know, I can do those things that's going to help my self-image, as opposed to if I dressed like a bum, if I slouch, if, you know, I don't smile, I don't laugh. You know, I kind of shared that story to laugh a little bit about what happened. So dress for success. Think about that. And I would encourage, because I know a lot of you guys are doing, you know, this remotely and from home, and that's great. That's part of the opportunity here. Doesn't mean you still can't dress well in your house, right? Because even if no one else is seeing you, you're going to see you. To think about that. And I'd really encourage you to think about, you know, what you feel like when you dress well. For women, you know, makeup, hair, whatever it may be. For men, you know, all these different things, how that goes, okay? Step 3, he talks about studying successful people. Read and listen to stories that are going to inspire you to do more. You know, it's so interesting, because when you start to do that and you start listening to some of these things or reading some of these things, it starts to plant these subconscious seeds, right? It's just so fascinating to me of how our minds work, and how really God created us, and how our, you know, just our body and our brain, our spirit, all these things come together. So you start listening to some of these things and studying these other people, and it's really going to help encourage you And some of that is going to transfer. Some of that is going to transfer to you. Some of those things are going to stick with you, especially in those hard times, right? So reading and studying successful people is a great one. Again, we've shared in other trainings. There's a ton of information out there. We've got a Dropbox file filled with information. If you need help finding that, you can certainly ask me. You can go online, look up on YouTube and podcasts, and just a lot of great content that's already out there. So he says, take small steps. Again, this is kind of part 4 of that foundational step of your self-image. And I like this. He kind of goes and he breaks it down a little bit. He says, sow a small action, reap a habit. And just to kind of take a minute, sowing and reaping. So sowing is what farmers do. When you sow seed into the ground, you're planting seed that you're then going to reap and harvest at a future time. So he says, sow a small action, okay? And you're going to reap a habit. I start with a small action. It's going to start to create a habit. Start to sow a habit. It's going to create a character in me. Once I start to create that character, it's going to reap destiny, right? And so I just kind of break that down and start small. It's going to lead to big things. And we talk about this a little bit later as well, but you know, really some tangible, practical takeaways. If we just try and boil this down, I'm always looking for that. I'm always looking to give you something you can walk away with and say, okay, whether you're on the training right now or you're listening to it or watching it at a future point, something that's going to stick with you, right? So here's a few on these small steps that are going to lead to a positive self-image. So I put get up earlier, whatever that looks like. I know some of you are more morning people than others. I'll be honest, I'm not the best morning person, but I know when I get up earlier, it's amazing how it affects how I feel. Read something positive, either in the morning or before bed. Plan your day. Take the stairs instead of the elevator. Choose a salad instead of a burger and fries. These are all just small examples of things you can do that are going to help you throughout your day to help improve your self-image. So that's kind of part 4 on that. 5, he says, and Zig just says it so well, he says, join the Smile and Compliment Club, right? So talks about when you smile, you feel better. And I kind of added to this, you know, laugh. You know, I love, the Bible says a cheerful heart is good medicine. You know, the more fun you have, the more positive you're going to feel about yourself, and others are going to see that in you as well. We all want to be around fun people, right? Think about that. Who wants to be around someone that's boring and not fun and just, you know, again, kind of a sour look on their face all the time? And again, thinking about people that tell jokes or make you laugh or tell stories, all of those things are so big, right? So I really add that smile and laughter and having fun is all going to add to your self-image. Again, some of you may be a stretch. Some people are more introverted. Some people are a little more extroverted. But think about things that you can do that are going to make you laugh and have fun and all of that. And do it throughout your day. And then the other thing he says, the compliment club. And again, thinking about, I like what he says as well, is looking for ways to be specific and genuine, right? Not just to say, hey, good job. Okay, well, what does that mean? But, you know, if someone did something well on something specific, say, you know, like a team member of ours, Leanne, hey, Leanne, great job on the Johnson file. You really went above and beyond by calling them and working through that challenge, right? So that would be a very specific thing. Where if someone gets their hair cut, or you notice, you know, something that you can say in a nice way about their appearance, always to give someone a specific and genuine compliment. He then talks about giving more than you receive, right? Again, we're coming to the end of the year here, and you know, holidays, and it's time of year where people think about it more than the rest of the year. I would encourage you guys to think about it throughout the year. And there's lots of ways to kind of participate with what our agency's already doing in terms of volunteering in the community. We've got events that we do every month. We've got things that occur quarterly throughout the year. Again, if you want info on that, reach out to me. I'm happy to get you plugged in for those that are local. But give, right? So one of the things he talked about is, you know, giving to others and serve someone, and it's amazing what happens. Not only do they feel good, but you're going to feel good too, right? And then I even ask, and he kind of adds it, but it's like thinking about your time, talent, or treasure, right? So talent, you know, what skills you have. Time, obviously, that's the ability to just give your time to serve. Treasure can refer to, you know, monetary or the gift of of giving some kind of a donation. Thinking about when you've done that to someone who can't offer you anything in return, right? And what am I saying there? Really what's he saying is it's, there are people who give to get. They're specifically giving something because they know they're going to get something in return. Okay, and what he's highlighting, really what I want to highlight here is think about the ability to give to someone who can't give you anything back, right? Like the example, our agency, every month we serve at the Florida Sheriff's Youth Ranch, and it's the largest foster community in Pinellas County. So these are kids ages 3 to 18. They don't have families. They don't have parents. They stay there on property, and they've got workers that are there and cottage parents and things like that. But we just go once a month and we make a meal for the kids. They can't give us anything in return. They're kids. They don't have, but it's just a great opportunity to go and give, right? And again, that intrinsic internal feeling that you get back is amazing. And it's just so cool to see that and see it in other people that have started volunteering here and what that does. So great way to really work on self-image. 7, be mindful who you associate with. Great statement here from ancient literature. It says, bad company corrupts good character. It's so true, right? So be mindful of people who are negative and pulling you down. People can either build you up or pull you down. Right now, I'm trying to share something with you. Hopefully it's going to encourage you and build you up. Think about people that are trying to pull you down. And you've got to be very mindful of that and of those people around you. And for some of you, you may have to cut ties with people, right? That's just being honest. That's being real. Or you may have to really kind of almost say, put them in a box, keep them at arm's length. But thinking about those that you associate with. 8 kind of touches on the first one a little bit. Make a list of your positive qualities. Really, and I tried to break that down a little bit here and kind of going into, if you think about it, and I've read something that if you take one strand of DNA, just one strand of DNA that's in your body, and we've got DNA all in through our body, it would stretch 96 feet tall, right? Just one strand. If you were to kind of stretch it all out, all the little chemicals that go in there. I'm just sharing that to talk about the uniqueness of you, right? Think about that. There is no other person in the world like you. There's 6 billion people in the world, or 7 billion, whatever it is. And no two of us are alike, fingerprints alike. You've heard some of these things before, but really take that in for a second and think about, wow, that's really special. Like there's no one else like you in the world. And then he also talks about, and it's interesting because he kind of pulls insurance in a little bit, and he talks about people that may be injured or hurt or some sort of claim with regards to insurance. So, what juries give for an eye, a leg, an arm, and if you add it all up, it's millions and millions and millions of dollars. So just right there, you're unique. And maybe some of you really need to hear that and really need to believe that. Again, I believe we're all made in God's image, and that, God chose all of us before the foundation of the world. And that's just so special right there, kind of along the lines of whether you believe in God or not, just the uniqueness that we each have. And then go into other positive qualities. What things do you do that you can feel good about? Maybe ask some people that are close to you. It's a great way to really kind of work on that self-image. 9, create a success file. It's one I've done for years. I think it's a great exercise. This again is a really tangible one. So this is something I just have in my email. Just got a folder called success. Something good happens, I put it in there. It could be anything. It could be something about the business. It could be something about my family, my kids, something that, maybe I got recognized for, a positive review that we got. Whatever that looks like, do that for you, right? Think about that. And then that's something you can go back to and look at and remembering your past successes. And then the last one is, how do you start your day? And we kind of touched on this earlier, but really want to end this with this. How do you start your day and the importance of routine, right? So, there's tons of books and blogs and YouTube videos on this, but just encourage you guys that the way you start your day is going to impact your entire day, okay? And, if you have a good routine, let's say you get up, do a little bit of exercise, you read something encouraging, positive, whatever that looks like, spend a little time in prayer, meditation, and then have a good protein-rich breakfast, that's going to get you off to a great start. And all of that is going to help launch you throughout the day. right? So that's really an overview again on the self-image, which, as Zig puts, is the first part of the, and I'm just trying to pull up the staircase here and a little bit bigger, is the first part of his stairway to the top, kind of see at the top, right? So he spent a lot of time on that. Again, I'd encourage you, not just me, but Zig Ziglar, a guy impacted over 250 million people in his lifetime, spent 40 years in the profession. Really, really good stuff there on that. Second step he talks about is relationship with others. So how you treat other people is going to be key into how others treat you, right? And so again, kind of going into this whole mindset of givers gain. That's a B&I thing. Those of you that know B&I are out there with B&I. Again, just great old principle. But how I treat other people is going to be key in how they treat me. And those two things are really going to form a lot of my professional life and my personal life. Think about this. Think about anything you've got that's valuable normally involves people and the relationship you have with them. I love, I've heard it said before that we have bank accounts with everyone, right? Everyone we meet, we have a bank account with. Think about this for a second. I didn't write this in here, but I think this is good and worth saying. That could be your spouse. That could be the teller at the bank. That could be the guy who serves you lunch at Chick-fil-A, and certainly people you interact with on an ongoing basis. And we're either making a deposit in or we're taking a withdrawal out, right? Think about that. Every interaction we have, every time you talk to me or I talk to you, we're either going to be making a deposit in or taking withdrawal out at some level, right? We may not think about it, but at some level, those things occur. So how we treat other people is really just so foundational to our success because it's going to build strong relationships. You may have heard it said before, it's not just what you know, it's who you know. Relationships are so key to life, right? So Zig's got a great quote, and maybe one of his most famous quotes out there, period, of all time. And he's got a ton of them. And he says, you can get everything in life you want if you help enough other people get what they want. So being others focused and considering your clients, trying to really drill this down to what we're doing here at the agency, considering your clients' needs above your own, always going to result in success. Okay. And then he talks about consider how you can show genuine interest and consideration for other people, their business, their life, their family. And then I found this as I was kind of putting this together. Zig died a few years ago, and he summarized and said, life really is all about relationships, right? I just think that's a very fascinating thing. As I know, as I grow my career and my family in different areas, I think that it's just so true. So relationships with others, step 2 on the stairway to see at the top. 3 is goals, okay? Again, just kind of pulling this back up here. So step 1, self-image. 2, relationship with others. 3 is goals. And I put here, join the 3% club. And again, as I was preparing for this, and I've done a lot of studying on goals and goal planning and done this personally myself for years. We talk when we onboard and bring new people on, and we do the training. We talk a lot about goals. We have a whole segment on that. But I thought this was really interesting. So Harvard Business Study, we all know Harvard, Smarty Pants Harvard, found that 83% of the population has no goals, 0, goose egg, right? That's 8 in 10. Think about that. As you go throughout your day, 8 in 10 people don't have goals, and not even like in their mind a goal, right? Like no goal at all. Okay. 14% have a plan. They may have something in their mind, but not written down. And only 3%, this is where I say join the 3% club. Only 3% have goals that are written down. Now, Harvard goes on to say that those people are 30 times more successful than those with no written defined goals at all, or no goals at all. To think about that. This is why it's so important. Again, maybe uncomfortable for some of you. I shook my head at stuff like this in my mid-20s, early 20s. It wasn't probably until I was in my late 20s. It really probably started in earnest about 10 years ago or so, shortly after getting into the business, that I really took this seriously. And now I do it every year. And again, we could go on and on about goals, but for this specifically here, goals are a key to success in business and life. And most people spend more time on their vacation planning than they go do for their goals in the next month, let alone the next year or beyond. Okay. I like Zig says too, a goal properly set is halfway reached. And this is what I think is so interesting. And I want you to think about this yourself for a second. So we kind of talked and tying, a couple key themes together here is it all starts with a thought in our mind, right? Everything starts with a thought in our mind. And when we look and we say it all starts with a thought in our mind, there are things that get planted in our subconscious. And once we start to wrap our mind around that subconscious, it takes root. And it's fascinating how your mind will work and find ways to solve that problem or attain that goal, even though you may not be actively focusing on it, right? And that's why goal setting is so important, because once you start and you set a good goal, you're almost halfway there, right? So join the 3% Club in setting goals. The last thing on the goals, and we talk about this a lot, is you want to make sure your goals follow the format of SMART. That's an acronym for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound. I've been working on this for years. I've been teaching our team on this for years. In my opinion, the bookends are the most important. They're all important, don't get me wrong, but the bookends are the most important, specific and time-bound. And I'll just give a quick example here, the difference between sort of a goal and not a goal, or a defined goal. If I say I want to lose weight, right? That's a common thing for a lot of people, by the way. That's not specific, measurable, achievable, time-bound, relevant. If I say I want to lose 15 pounds by February 2nd, it's going to meet all of these. It's specific. I've got a date. It's measurable. I know how I can say, well, did I do it or not? It's achievable, right? I'm not saying I want to lose 100 pounds or 1,000,000 pounds or whatever. It's relevant. It's got to be important to me. And then again, it's time sensitive. But to me, the most important are the bookends. It's got to be specific and time sensitive. So the fourth step along the way is your attitude that Zig highlights here. So attitude, and it's kind of interesting, that's like right middle of the road right there, the attitude. So he says a great attitude will not only improve happiness, but ease stress and help keep you positive outlook for the future. Again, it could go on and on. I mean, we just do a whole little presentation or teaching on just Zig's quotes. I mean, so much of them just speak for themselves, but another one of his that's just so good is he says your attitude, not your aptitude, determines your altitude, right? And again, with his, if you haven't heard him before, he's just got this great Southern voice. It's kind of raspy and kind of interesting. But to think about that, we'll break that down for a second. So the smartest person is not always the most successful. I'll say that in another way, right? There's a lot of people that are really smart, broke, depressed, destitute, a lot. So what he's saying is it's your attitude, not how smart you are, that's going to determine how far you go, altitude, how high I go, okay? Something I've talked about for years here at Strategic is we look for people that have great awe, and I use that again as an acrostic or an acronym, and that's attitude and work ethic. If you've got a good attitude and good work ethic, we can teach you all the other parts and pieces. Those are so critical, right? So step 4, he highlights his attitude. I like this too, Napoleon Hill, another kind of contemporary, a little bit older than Zig was, but famous, wrote Think and Grow Rich. We've done some other overviews and trainings on some of his stuff. So he says, we are the masters of our fate, the captains of our soul, because we have the power to control our thoughts, which are going to impact our attitudes, right? Starting to see a theme here. Okay, and that's kind of put the last thing is starting to see a theme here. What we put in our mind is going to affect what comes out, who we become, how we act, how we treat others, right? We've really got to be intentional with these things, okay? So I just put this, and I thought this was interesting for a second, and I've shared before, is, try and watch 5 hours of the news. I don't care what news either. I don't care whether it's liberal or conservative or in between or whatever. You watch 5 hours of the news, like in a row, by the way, like 5 hours. I mean, even if you did it throughout the day, but 5 hours. And then just tell me how you feel at the end, right? And then tell me if you watched like Rudy or Mighty Ducks or, an inspirational movie, right? Pursuit of Happiness, a famous one with Will Smith, or you read a good book that was encouraging and how you feel. Right? Think about that for a second. We all can relate to that at some small level. Again, just the importance of that. Step 5 is work. Pretty important, right? That's what we're here for, what we're doing right now. Most valuable things in life take a lot of work and effort. I've got 3 kids under 6, you know. Again, for all of you, thank you. You're helping support these 3 beautiful, beautiful kids and my wife that are looking at the screen share right now. It takes a lot of work. You know, I've been married going on 9 years, known my wife 10 years. It was actually 10 years ago yesterday. It takes a lot of work, but it's worth it, right? And I think most people, when they're honest, they will say that the hardest things or the things they put the most work into in life were the most exciting, rewarding, and the best things they had. So, you know, the thought here is be prepared, ready, and excited to enjoy the price you get to pay for where you want to go. Not we have to suffer through and pay the price, but enjoy it. And that, again, even goes back to kind of some of the things we were tying in earlier is, you know, laugh, have fun. Look for those little things each day that give you a lift. You know, and I just wanted to take a moment. Again, some of you know, some of you may not. And so I figured it'd be a goodest time ever to share again the story of Strategic and how it started. So, you know, and I'll kind of compact this and make it quick, but I'd been down in Florida for a couple of years. I'd been working at a local captive insurance agency, a state farm agency for 2.5 years, been doing well there, but always knew I wanted more, knew I wanted to be my own boss. So I decided I was making pretty good money at the time for my age. I was 25 going on 26. So I go from that, making pretty good money, kind of being top guy in my office, you know, nice view, nice office, this and that, pretty comfortable, to saying, all right, I want to start my own business. I took a mortgage out on my house. So I literally mortgaged my house to have money to start the business, to go from making, you know, pretty decent income to making nothing and having bills come in, you know, and just bootstrapping, hustling, working hard each and every day. Put my first desk together, you know, and I kind of joke, you know, as I get a little older, it's like, you know, walked uphill both ways and all that. And now, you know, today we've got 22 team members and we've got, you know, we do business in about 15 states. We've got almost 5,000 policies. We've impacted a lot of people. We've helped a lot of people, and that's awesome. And so I've had to put that time, energy, and effort in, and I still am. And that again kind of goes to my encouragement to you of that, you know, seeing you at the top is kind of a place that you want to get and be, but you're never quite there, right? Maybe that's the best way to put it. You never quite fully arrive, right? And knowing that if you're going to be successful in this, and yes, I realize some of you are, you know, a lot of you are going to be doing this part-time. That's great. Whatever part-time you're doing it, take it seriously, put the time, energy, and effort into it, right? And my question right now is just how much time, energy, and effort are you diverting to your business within our business, right? That's something that you all have to think about. If you're not where you're at, you got to take stock of that. And I'll tell you, the ones that are doing really well are certainly the ones that are putting that in. And this is true of anything in life, okay? So just really think about that, the work aspect of it, right? Desire, that's step 6. And we're getting pretty close to the top. I think that's the last one, actually. So desire is the 6th step. And desire is, and I like this, again, this is kind of going back to some Napoleon Hill stuff, who wrote Think and Grow Rich. But so desire is a basic building block of life, okay? We all want something right now. Be honest with yourselves. You all want something, okay? And I personally think, and a lot of that can be monetary. That's not bad. It's not bad to want to be wealthy, right? I even like, you know, again, famous quote, you know, the love of money is the root of all evil. Not money in itself. It's the love of money, right? But what makes America great is the ability that you can go. I had a mentor of mine tell me before, I love this, you can go from the poorhouse to the penthouse in this country, and especially in this business. This is a great business. This is a business, again, that everyone needs. Everyone needs home and auto insurance. We've got all the major markets. You've got training and support and systems and infrastructure, and we do the service for you, and we help teach you how to get business, and on and on and on. And it's a business where the sky's the limit. There's never going to be a day where we say, oh, you're making too much. Sorry, we got to cut you off. We're going to get rid of you, bring somebody in half your age, pay them half as much like corporate America. It doesn't happen, okay? But having that desire to succeed is so big, right? And again, it kind of acts as like a GPS in us. to grow. So Napoleon Hill again, and I like this really. I'll do this last point on this slide is having that definite major purpose. So Napoleon Hill defines it as a definite major purpose, which is your burning desire, right? If I ask you right now, what is your burning desire? Can you tell me? If not, think about it, put it out there, write it down, make it part of your goals. Watch what happens, right? So these are the kind of the 6 steps that Zig talks about to see you at the top. What I want to talk here briefly, again, there's just so much. We could do more videos. We could do videos forever on all this kind of stuff. And I kind of defined it as rebar, right? He doesn't put in these terms. I talked about it a little bit at the very, very beginning, but he defines it not as this, but I do. I kind of like this, just the analogy here, and especially with the word picture. So if you look here, we've got the 6 steps, stairway to the top. We just kind of talked about those. We unpacked each of those again: self-image, relationships with others, goals, attitude, work, desire. So then what I put off here is, this is the rebar. And for those of you that aren't familiar with construction, not that I'm an expert in it, but rebar is steel, the steel rods that go through construction to reinforce concrete. Think about that. Think about how powerful that is. Steel rods that go in this concrete to reinforce a structure, right? And so that's kind of what I'm referring to these as. And this is what Zig's got, right? That these are kind of along, kind of all, you could maybe make a statement as well and say in between these steps, or a part of, intertwined in all of these, is loyalty, honesty, character, love, integrity, and faith. And so really what I did is I just wanted to define those quickly, right? As this rebar. And these are things that I'd love for you to think about as you're on your journey with us here at Strategic, or if you're someday come across this video and you just like it, wherever it is in life, and hopefully it's helping, that you would think through this, that, faith is evidence that what we hope for really happens. It's that belief that it's gonna happen, right? And that is so critical. We all choose to believe in something, and it's powerful when we can say, I believe this is gonna happen. And you start making statements over that, and you start declaring that in your life. Again, the way our minds work and the way it kind of gets into our subconscious is powerful. Integrity, it's one of our core values here, and there's lots of ways to define it, but I just say do the right thing always, right? If you're not sure what the right thing is, especially starting out or especially being new, please ask. Love, 3 types of love: phileo, eros, and agape. Agape, and those are Greek definitions, by the way. Phileo is brotherly love, eros, sexual or intimacy love. Agape is probably the one that's not spoken about as much, and that's unconditional love. Right? So think about that. And who do you have unconditional love for in your life? Maybe a parent, a loved one, a family member, a spouse, etc. So important. Honesty, being true and sincere. And character, and again, this is kind of my own definition a little bit, but character is really, who you are when no one else is looking, right? No one else is around. No one else sees you. It's who you are. So I would encourage you to think these are the rebar that's holding these stairs together at some level, okay? And then the last thing is kind of, okay, we put all this together. We've done, these 6 steps. Well, where am I at? What is the view from the top, right? So Zig will say it's freedom, it's growth, it's leisure, security, peace, happiness, wealth, and health. I would argue or point out, I believe that those are qualities and traits that anyone wants. I don't care what walk of life you're from. I don't care what you look like, what your background is, what your bank account is now or later. We all want that, right? We all want happiness, peace, security, freedom, health, and wealth. And so by doing and really focusing on those 6 steps, which again is self-image, relationship with others, goals, attitude, work, and desire, and thinking through the rebar that's going to hold those together, we can truly say we'll see it from the top. So hope you have a great day. Dream big and make it happen. If you've got any questions or I can help you in any way, please reach out to me. Take care.